Right, it's Sniper Sports back in the house, straight from the 808 where we shoot you straight. This is Joey, with me as always Steven, and this is our first show for 2018, bringing in the new year with much of the same old stuff, sports talk, sports debate, your opinion, our opinions, some of your questions. We're going to go over it, chop it up. We have the NFL playoffs to talk about. We're down to 4 teams. It's the Final Four, Steven, in the NFL. Mm-hmm. We had some amazing games take place this last weekend.
Yes, we did.
Also, we're going to talk a little NBA, maybe go over the struggles that we see the Cleveland Cavaliers going through currently. A little scuffle in Houston and LA the other night. And also the Golden State Warriors, who just won their 14th road game in a row. And then we're going to finish up with a little UFC. We have some great fights this weekend. Mm-hmm. We got the heavyweight champion, Stipe, versus Ngannou. Of course, Ngannou is the young up-and-coming fighter who just came off that amazing knockout of Alistair Overeem about 6-7 weeks back. He's right back in the ring and going for the title. Should be fireworks. Exciting stuff there. But let's start with the NFL, Steven. And, everybody's talking the Saints-Minnesota game. We got to go over that real quick. That was crazy. Mm-hmm. The miracle in Minnesota. I personally haven't seen anything like it. I mean, I think prior to that maybe was, the Music City Miracle with Tennessee. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then before that was, I'm going way back here. The catch with Dwight Clark in the end zone against the Dallas Cowboys in the 81 or 82 playoff game. But this one tops them all, man. This was crazy. After New Orleans just marches down the field to get back in the game and kick a field goal with very little time left, Case Keenum and the Minnesota Vikings throw up, which was really a good football by Case Keenum, might I admit. He put it right where it needed to be. But as you all saw by now, the defender, it looked like he was trying not to get hit with pass interference, right? Because he got there just a little bit early, and he pulled up, but what he did is keep his head down. And consequently, Stefon Diggs made an amazing catch, got a hand planted down as he turned around and ran into the end zone for about 30 yards. Time expires. Mayhem in Minnesota. Guys can't believe it on the sideline. So, I don't know. Your thoughts on that game in Minnesota getting to the NFC Championship game?
Absolutely. I'm very happy for Minnesota. I was going for them. I've always liked Minnesota. I am a Redskins fan, but I like Minnesota for a while. I've always just liked the team. I've always, had Randy Moss, Chris Carter, Adrian Peterson, and all these spectacular players. And it's kind of nice to see, luck was on their side. I thought the game was, the game was a little bit boring, I guess you would say, in the first half. It was 17-0 Minnesota. Second half, Saints made great plays to get back into the game. And all honesty, when they kicked that last field goal, I was like, oh, well, I guess it's over for Minnesota.
Right.
Saints are going to go on to the championship game against the Eagles. But when I saw that catch and everything, I was just in total shock. I was super happy.
Total shock. I mean, that was amazing.
Exactly. And with that play, I think we discussed it earlier, and I agree that Casey Keenum put that ball where it needed to be. And I think, Casey Keenum is not the greatest quarterback. His accuracy is not great. But I think with the way where he placed that ball and Diggs had to jump up to grab it, I think that helped the defender miss and get an opportunity to score the touchdown. I think if you threw it a little bit perfectly on the sideline for him to drag his feet, I think we maybe would have kicked a field goal. Maybe they still would have won, but I just think the way he threw the ball, the placement of it, just everything worked into the Minnesota's favor, and they came out with their victory. And it was the best game that I can remember.
Yeah.
Super exciting, I feel for the Saints fans, but at the same time, I'm super happy for Minnesota.
No, I'm happy for Minnesota too, Steven. They've had many good players, and I can respect the way they've run that organization for years. It's good to see them get a win and get on top and be relevant once again. But man, I got to tell you, if you'd have told me, with the exception of Tom Brady now, if you'd have told me at the end of the season that the last 4 quarterbacks remaining were Tom Brady, Case Keenum, Nick Foles, and this one I really love, Blake Bortles. I'd have said you're crazy. I'd have said you're crazy. As a matter of fact, right here on Sniper Sports, we talked about earlier in the season, Blake Bortles might not even having a job, and here he is in the Final Four. So, hey, to bite a line from Forrest Gump, life's like a bunch of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And, man, that goes right in step with this NFL season. So with the last 4 teams remaining, it's Minnesota going into Philadelphia. Man, good matchup there, right? Let's talk about that. Let's chop that up. Here you got 2 good defenses, right? 2 totally different coaching styles, but 2 really good defenses. I think I have to give the edge in the running game to Philly. Both those guys, LeGarrette Blount and Jay Ajayi, they can get it done. They can control the clock and run the ball. Although Minnesota's defense, man, shut out. That front 4 is no joke. I really like the corners, Xavier Rhodes and Trey Waynes. And they have probably, the number 1 defense in the league, if I'm not mistaken. Number 2, Minnesota's up there.
Yeah, it's up there.
So, with that being said, going into Philly, Nick Foles, sometimes he looks good, sometimes not so much, but lately he's been getting the job done. So, I don't know. I guess I'm reaching, Steven. I'm really not sure who to pick in this game.
I'm going to go for Minnesota. I'm going to go out there. I'm picking them, and the reason why I'm picking them is I think this is a great matchup for them. Everything you said is absolutely true. The thing for me with Philly, even from the beginning of the season, as I saw in the preseason, has been their cornerbacks. Philadelphia's front 4 and the linebackers are amazing. They can get the job done. I just think with their corners, it's going to give them problem, and I think that's where Minnesota comes out ahead. I mean, you have Diggs. I think his name is Thielen.
Right. And
Rudolph,
Thielen had a bunch of yards this year. And
with
Kyle
those,
Rudolph's no slouch at the tight end
with
position.
all those guys, I think it just plays into their favor. If I was Minnesota on defense, what I think they're going to do is probably put Rhodes on Jeffries. Best hasn't been playing the greatest this year. Like he has his moments, but not the greatest. Maybe just stack the box and stop the run and make Nick Foles. Your arm is going to have to beat us.
Right.
And unlike before when you had Deshaun Jackson and Macklin, you don't have those boys now. So let's see what you can do.
Right.
So that's why I'm going for Minnesota. I'm cheering for them, and I think they're going to come out ahead and win this game and go to the Super Bowl. And to be the first team ever to play a Super Bowl in your hometown, wow.
Yeah, that would be really special and really unique. You would have to think that gives them an edge. That's essentially a home game Super Bowl. But there is a guy over there in New England, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. I know we hate to say it, but man, they sure are battle tested.
Yeah.
And they're in this thing too, folks. They're on the AFC side, and they'll be challenging the very impressive but very unexperienced Jacksonville Jaguars, or Saxonville, as some people's calling them this year, because that defense, let's face it, they've been getting at it all year. They shocked us with a Pittsburgh Steelers win. Shocked me at least. Didn't shock a whole lot of people, right? Because they beat Pittsburgh previously in the year. Of course, that was a game where Ben threw 5 picks, and after the game, he said, maybe I don't have it no more. And but hey, Jacksonville, they've been a little brash, a little cocky. Kind of remind me of the young Baltimore defense when Ray Lewis and Ed Reed were just right out of Miami and only 1-2 years in the league, already doing big things. Jacksonville's stacked on defense. Let's face it, and they're hungry and they're determined. They get after the football. But I just think that Brady and Belichick and hell, Blake Bortles is the quarterback for Jacksonville now. I just don't see him beating you. I just don't see him beating New England. That pressure is on the defense. Really, they're going to have to play one heck of a game to beat Tom Brady and New England. But I'm hoping they do. I'm hoping they do. It's no secret I'm not a Patriots fan, but I'm a little tired of seeing the Patriots. I think it'd be exciting to have some fresh blood in the Super Bowl.
Joey, I totally agree with you. I think Jacksonville is very unexperienced, and I think especially in the media, people are talking about Tom Coughlin. He's the GM. He's made this team like how the Giants were that beat Belichick and Brady twice in the Super Bowl now. So, everyone says that's the recipe, and he has a recipe. Where I do agree with that, you have amazing defense. Front 4 is just, those are some men right there. you know, and then you have Ramsey in the other corner over there to lock down. I think the defense is just really amazing. When people are talking about Blake Bortles, you know, and I don't know why they're making him such a big deal unless he's playing in London. He's really not that great. But the thing is, he doesn't have to be that great. You know what I'm saying? They have a great defense, and I think with all of them, they have that personality, like put the pressure on us.
Right.
They're young, you know. Let's be real. Ramsey's from Florida State.
Right.
A lot of Florida boys, you know, they
Right.
have that attitude, that swag. So I think they like that. And on offense, you still have Fournette, who can run the ball, who
Beast.
can pound the
You
ball.
can give him 25 carries a game.
So, you know, Blake Bortles only really has to make about 5. He can go 5 for 13 and win this game because he can hand the ball off, because the defense can put him in great field position. Maybe they can even score and get a touchdown. And if they do, Blake Bortles really doesn't have to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm catching what you're throwing here. I think he needs to do a little more than 5 and 13, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah,
he doesn't have to. Wow us. He's got to keep the chains moving.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to chew the clock and keep a guy named Tom Brady on the bench.
Exactly. I mean, because let's face it, New England's offense is just Tom Brady, and with him throwing quick outs, trying to get people on the field. You know, as we saw against the Giants and other defenses, when they put pressure on him, he can't handle the pressure, just like every quarterback.
Right.
But even the great
Right.
Tom Brady, as people want to call him, can't handle that pressure, and it messes with him, as we saw in 2 Super
Right.
Bowls.
He is human.
Exactly.
When he gets blitzed, folks, he is human.
Exactly. And you remember those 2 Super Bowls. It's basically 4 guys, Tucker, Strahan, Osi Umenyiora, and I cannot forget that.
Right.
I don't remember the other guy. But anyways, it was just those 4 guys putting pressure, and everyone else could just lay back and take apart.
Another thing is, Steven, Deion Lewis has been really coming on lately the last few weeks, but I think he might meet his match this week with Jacksonville with that defense and those young quarters, Jalen Ramsey and Cyprien flying around the corners.
Mm-hmm.
He might not be so effective this week.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
he has had a nice postseason.
Exactly.
So, but I'm really hoping, and I hope Ramsey guards Gronk, and they double team Gronk at times. That's what they're going to have to do. Obviously, we know they're going to have to get after the quarterback with Calais Campbell, the leading sack leader in the league, and you also got Malik Jackson, won a Super Bowl with Denver. He's on that line, and he's going to be putting the pressure on them. Should be a good game. I'm really going for Jacksonville. You know I am. But in my heart and hearts, I think that the Patriots just simply have too much experience and a lot more offense.
You know,
but I would love it to see if Jacksonville implements their game plan and just hits them in the mouth.
You know, I'm gonna go with Jacksonville. Hopefully I don't jinx them, because I'll be very honest with you. The whole year, okay, Jacksonville's defense is really good, okay, and I've never really given them the respect and due that they had, even up until last week against Pittsburgh. I was like, no way is Pittsburgh gonna lose to these guys. I mean, yeah, Bryant, Antonio Brown was back, Le'Veon Bell, Juju stepped up.
Yeah.
Still got Big Ben. This is a team that's gonna come together, and they're gonna do great. So I'm gonna go for Jacksonville. I think they're gonna do great. I think they're gonna put this team on their back, and they're gonna come out with a victory and shock everyone. And I think it's gonna be Minnesota versus Jacksonville in the Super Bowl.
Well, there you have it, right here at Sniper Sports. Steven giving you his predictions. Minnesota versus Jacksonville. That's not a bad look. I can say, I'm definitely all in on that Super Bowl. Man, but I'm gonna ride with your Minnesota pick. I just don't know. I wasn't sure, but after thinking about it, I think they got the magic. It just might be in the cards for them this year.
Yeah, but let me make this. Yeah,
go
let me
ahead.
just say me real quick. If it was Carson Wentz there for Philly, as much as I would cheer for Minnesota, I think Philly would win with Carson Wentz at the helm. But he's not. You have Nick Foles.
Yes.
So sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's all right. And these teams are very similar. But you know what the X factor is for me, Steven? I think I really like the way Mike Zimmer coaches that football team. And I just think that I think he's going to be a little bit more, I'm not going to say prepared, but have the psychological edge on Doug Peterson in Philadelphia. So I'm going to ride with you. I'm going to ride with that Minnesota pick. But I do disagree. As much as I like to see Jayville in the Super Bowl, I think it's going to be much of the same. It's going to be the New England Patriots and the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota being the first team to play a home game at the Super Bowl. That's going to be bananas, to say the least. But that's it as we wrap up this 2017 NFL season, which I might say went very quickly.
It did. Well, just to touch on it quickly, we've seen a lot of coaches, not coaches, but
Yeah.
offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators going. And I think we talked about it a little bit before, and I kind of want to get this on tape.
Okay.
What do you think about Pittsburgh? Does the whole the whole coaching staff goes?
Yeah.
Maybe just the offensive coordinator. When I mean the whole coach staff, I mean Tomlin or the OC, the defensive coordinator, start afresh, or should they let Tomlin be in there? Maybe get the offensive coordinator out. Pittsburgh's a very,
Yeah.
you can live and die in Pittsburgh. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They're faithful to their players to an extent, I feel so.
And they expect excellence, especially with that team. That's a good question. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie, people. I'm a Mike Tomlin fan, but I was very disappointed in that showing he played against Jacksonville. I mean, to get hung up 45 points at home, not make the adjustments that you need to make. I mean, against the Blake Bortles, who I'm not sure what his statistics were. I know he ran on him pretty well, but come on, like Steven mentioned, he didn't do a whole lot in the passing game. He made some throws when he needed to, but was really disappointed in Pittsburgh's defense. But primarily that falls on the coaching staff. So I definitely think whether it be the DC, the OC, or the head coach, some changes are needed. I'm not a particularly fan of Pittsburgh, so I don't know. I'm not ready to say who needs to get fired. I haven't followed that franchise closely enough, but it's obvious that they need a change in coaching. They need to change just for the players to believe in them. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, I'll say it again, 45 points at home in the playoffs. Jacksonville, a young, warm weather team, comes up to Pittsburgh and gets the W. They just wanted it. I watched that whole game. They just really wanted it. Fournette ran so hard. I mean, everybody just played so hard. And so, hey, some changes need to happen. I'm going to start with the defensive coordinator, no question. And if things don't change from there on, maybe you do need to look beyond Mike Tomlin. Maybe it's time to go in a different direction. But I think Roethlisberger still has at least two more decent, productive seasons where he's a top 5, maybe even, dare I say, a top 3 quarterback in the league. You're going to have to do something there because that is a very good football team if you just look on paper at the roster and who you have currently. So some changes definitely need to be made in the coaching.
Absolutely. I think I'm going to agree with you. I think definitely the offensive coordinator needs to go. Those 4th and 1 plays were just horrendous.
Yeah, terrible.
It was just dumb. I think he showed no real commitment to Ben in the sense of you don't think your quarterback could do it. Even throughout the year, just I don't know. I just don't think the play calling has been very good. Something's wrong with. I always think that. I can remember when he came over the first year. I remember him and Ben weren't getting along so well. And I don't think they've ever really gotten a good. So I think maybe it's time to get a different offensive coordinator. Not think he should get a different offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator as well. I think it's always good to mix things up. I mean, we can look at Seattle. Seattle got rid of their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, and they've had some successful defensive coordinators over there. But I think with every team, sometimes that change is needed to really keep the players fired up and wanting more. So.
I have to say, in Seattle's case, though, I really think their offensive coordinator got thrown under the bus. I mean, Seattle had the worst line in the league this year. They were banged up, they had injuries, and it just fired him. I just don't think that, that was all on him. I think a lot of that had to do primarily on the injuries that occurred this year.
Yeah,
Russell Wilson's back there running for his life, man,
exactly.
Every week.
I think they need to put more on.
But in the Steelers' case, Steven, total 180. Somebody needs to be accountable for that showing in Pittsburgh, rather, when Jacksonville came last week. Terrible.
Exactly.
And somebody needs to go. So.
Exactly. Well, moving on to the NBA, we'll talk about a team that is thriving right now after tonight.
Yeah, man.
Their 14th straight road victory.
Impressive. I think 16 games is the record. 16 games is a record for road wins consecutively.
I think so.
So they're knocking on the door over there.
And we are not talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers.
You know who we're talking about, people.
We are talking about the Golden State Warriors.
Basically an all-star team.
It really is. I mean, to say like the big four is going to be probably be on the All-Star ballots. They're going to be making the team. Um, they're playing amazing. I don't really see anyone beating them. Like I'm sorry to say, I picked them last year or beginning of the season. Even at the end of the last season, I still picked them to win.
Right.
And it's not just because of the Thompsons, Curry, Durant, and Green. I just feel they just have amazing role players. I mean, the other night when you see them, when all four of them, I believe, were on the bench, and they still proceeded to gain a 10-point lead on the Cleveland Cavaliers in Cleveland. I mean, that says a lot about your team. When you can get that
Sure
kind
does.
of production off of your bench and your big four isn't coming in, what kind of pressure are they feeling? They're feeling no pressure. They feel like they can just still shoot, and if they miss,
face it, that's showing off. That's good coaching, great system.
Exactly. I mean, and for that reason, I don't really see anyone really beating them. In a 7-game series, of course. If it was one game, it'd be totally different. But a 7-game series, I just don't see anyone matching up with the Warriors. I'm sorry to say.
I agree, Steven, and to take it even a step further than that, I mean, I'll agree with you. Nobody's beaten the Warriors in a 7-game series this year. Nobody. And it's kind of like what I mentioned at the end of the last NBA season. With Durant joining this team, they've only gotten better. I knew it was going to be like this year. They've only gotten better with more comfortable, more chemistry. The role players come in off the bench. The score continues to stay where it is, if not go up. I mean, you got players that nothing drops off, and they seem to fit in really well. Nick Young has flourished over here with Golden State. You still have Livingston and Iguodala. You got the young kid you drafted out of Oregon, Jordan Bell, who just twisted his ankle the other day. But prior to that, he's having an amazing season, coming off the bench in his limited minutes.
Green,
Absolutely. So, with that being said, I mean, look, let's just recap here. Kevin Durant joins a 73-win Golden State Warriors team. All right? They re-sign everybody. They pick up Nick Young. Who'd have thought Jordan Bell would be as good and productive as he is? I mean, they're really in the driver's seat. They got this thing on cruise control right now, Steven. And I'm going to be honest. I mean, we're Lakers fans, big Laker fans. And I know the Lakers aren't even going to sniff the playoffs this year. Let's be realistic. They have so much room for improvement. So with that being said, with Golden State dominating the lead, I'm going to be honest, it really makes it kind of boring for me. It's kind of like watching, the Titanic. You already know what's going to happen, right? I mean,
exactly.
I'm just not as interested, It's kind of like, can we just fast forward to June so we can see, Golden State and maybe the Cavaliers, because maybe they won't get past Boston right now. You know what I mean? But it doesn't matter if it's Cleveland or Boston. None of those guys are beating Golden State in a 7-game series.
I totally agree with you in that sense, where I know a lot of people don't like it. But to be very honest with you, we play basketball together, Joe.
Yeah.
And I understand when people are going to come off the wrong way for this and whatever. But you guys have to understand this. I love shooting. I've always admired the 3-point shot. I love it. I like to shoot the ball myself. So for me, it's a great thing. But it goes in I'm just in amazement in a sense of how this team is being run, in a sense of this. I hated the Spurs because they're such a fundamental team.
Right.
And Pop is so fundamental. Pass. And I'm not saying the Warriors don't, but he hates the 3-ball. Yet it's won in multiple championships.
Right.
Which I don't understand why he doesn't like it. But with the Golden State Warriors, it's the same thing where they continually just bring in these players who flourish in the system, bring these veterans in, like Livingston, like Iguodala, even Zaza.
Yeah.
Zaza's flourish, JaVale McGee. They're bringing them into this team. They're flourishing. They seem to love playing basketball. They seem to love playing together. They love the pace that they're playing with, the pace going up and down the floor, and they like shooting the ball and shooting threes. So for me, I personally love it. I know a lot of people say, well, that's not competitive basketball. Very true, but I'm happy the fights are coming back, which I know we're going to cover a little later.
Right.
Not the fights in this whole sense, but I like the competitiveness. I like people are getting to people's face like, no, you're not going to punk me. I don't care how old I am,
Right.
whether be young or older.
Seeing a little passion here.
Exactly, because let's be honest, folks. There ain't no Charles Oakley or Greg Mahorn or
Yeah.
or
Some real
Anthony
rough
Mason
riders.
or anybody else. They
Anthony Mason, yeah.
there ain't those
Get the
kind
business. Yeah.
of people in the NBA anymore. And to finish up with this point, yeah. I mean, we'll talk about the East in a little bit, but I don't think anyone's going to beat any of the Warriors in the West. Sorry, Houston. No, you're not.
Yeah, I just don't see it. And, Cleveland, they've had their struggles lately, and I just don't know. Early in the year, I was saying that, maybe that loss last year makes Ty Lue better. Maybe he learns from it, becomes a better coach. But we did also talk about Stephen, him struggling with managing all these personalities. Dwayne Wade's there. You just have all these stars, and they just haven't figured it out. Isaiah Thomas is there now. He's been healthy, played at least a half dozen games, and they still continue to struggle. So they got to get that thing figured out badly. The players are saying we still need pieces. They already have a pretty good team. And this is why I'm not a fan of, every season trying to get a couple new guys around the league, veterans. Because veterans, they tend to be set in their ways. They tend to be, they've journeyed, they've played for this coach and that coach. And you come in the middle of the season, and it doesn't always seem to work out, Chemistry is underrated. That's a thing you can't overlook in the NBA. That's why some of those the less talented teams do better, like a Utah. They have that chemistry. And so that's important. That can't be overlooked. So I'm not sure what Cleveland's going to do. And I wouldn't be surprised by the end of the season if they don't make it to the finals and have a strong showing. I think they get rid of Tyronn Lue.
I definitely think so. To go off your point, Joey, I kind of, Joey, I don't want to brag, but I said it before.
We'll say it again.
I didn't think Tyronn Lue was going to do that good. I continue to say, look, I'm not taking anything away from LeBron. He's playing at a high level.
Right.
But let's be honest. His offensive productivity has been going through the roof with rebounds, assists, and all these other things. But let's be honest.
Shoot 55% too.
His defense has gone down. He's not that high octane, and I think you're seeing him miss Kyrie because at least he knew with Kyrie there, whether he wants to say it or not, he knew that Kyrie could score the ball. So he can concentrate on defense. He could be that energizer, help play on defense and do those things. Now, who does he really have? Isaiah Thomas. I'll be very honest with you. I think if the Cavs want to even have a shot to go to the finals, we discussed it before, Tyronn Lue has to go to LeBron and go with Isaiah and make LeBron tell Isaiah, you need to come off the bench.
Yeah, and I hear what you're saying, and it kind of makes my point, Steven. He does have people, but he's not using them right. What you say? I mean, Kevin Love, Dwayne Wade. I know Dwayne Wade's old, but he can still give you 18, 20 solid minutes, okay? You got Kevin Love, Dwayne Wade, Isaiah Thomas. I mean, Isaiah Thomas, I think, was the second or third leading scorer in the league last year. He averaged 28.9, almost 29 points a game. That's ridiculous. So, I know what you're saying, so I think it falls on the coach. They do have the pieces, and they're not getting it done.
But then you're asking Isaiah to give up a whole lot because the whole thing for him was he has this mentality like, look what I did in Boston, okay?
Right.
Let me get this out right now. He did that thing in Boston, but right now he's trying to get a contract extension. He's trying to get paid. He's trying to get that big contract and whatever the case may be. So if he comes off the bench, he's not going to like that because I don't think he's going to get that money, whether he stays in Cleveland or not, because he's gonna kind of be exposed.
Right.
And let's be honest, folks. Okay, up until he went to the Celtics with Brad Stevens, was he that player in Sacramento? He had moments. He had moments where he had these amazing games and stuff. But was Sacramento that good?
Not at all.
I'm sorry to say, when he went to Phoenix,
you started seeing little flashes of it, but I know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
He didn't really start to flourish until he was with Brad Stevens.
And look, Brad Stevens is an amazing coach. And if you don't believe me, look at this team he has this year. Everyone thought after game one, when they lost Gordon Hayward, Celtics are done. There's no way they're going to contend for the East.
First 3-4 minutes of the season.
Exactly. Their season's done. Without Gordon Hayward there, they're not going to do good. But all of a sudden, you see Marcus Smart flourishing now. All of a sudden, Jason Tatum let's be honest, we discussed this just a little bit before.
Yeah.
Everyone's like thinking like, Jason Tatum, you're supposed to pick Josh Jackson.
Yeah, there was all this hype on Jackson coming out of the draft.
And you look at the game that Tatum is playing right now. Not for Ben Simmons, you could say he's pretty much rookie of the year almost. I mean, just with the amount, the shots he's made and everything. I know there's some other ones with Mitchell and Dennis Smith Jr. and even Kuzma, but I just feel Tatum is just playing above and beyond. Jaylen Brown.
Look at the leap he's made in year 2, right?
Exactly. Who's that other? He's number 12. Forgot his name, man. I'm horrible.
Oh, Frazier?
Frazier, I think his name is.
I hope I'm not wrong. I think it's Frazier, number 12.
But all these
he comes off the bench and gives you solid minutes.
Exactly. Everyone doubted, Brad Stevens. Oh, you're going to miss Olenek. Oh, you're trading Crowder and Isaiah Thomas for Kyrie. Kyrie can't do this. And look at this team now. They're saying that they could come out of the East and beat the Cavs. No one's really giving a strong statement for that.
Right.
But now they're like, whoa, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe
what I've seen thus far, that doesn't sound crazy.
So, I mean, give a lot of respect to Brad Stevens and what he's doing for the Celtics, because let's be honest, I mean, it's the Celtics and Cavs again. People want to say Toronto. I don't know about that, Joey. I don't know what you think about it. Everyone's trying to give them more credit than they have, but I remember when Toronto was up there, number 2 seed or even 1 seed. I know they put a beating on the Cavs, but
look, Toronto has a decent starting 5, but they simply have no bench, and that's it for me. That's the beginning and the end of that argument.
Yeah,
they're a good team. I'm happy for you, Canada. You have a productive product up there. It's somebody worth watching. But we saw them up close and personal. They got a pretty good starting 5.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, it really drops off. Exactly. Offensively and defensively.
And another thing I'm going to say is just you look at the 2 guys, you have the 2 point guards. And during the regular season, for the past 3 or 4 seasons, they have played amazing.
Yeah.
But Joey, whenever it comes into the playoffs, especially deep, where are they? They seem to just, Kyle Lowry will score 10 points. Rosen will score 15 at best. And you just see them shrink. And that's my whole thing. That's why, hey, kudos, like everyone does with Peyton Manning. Kudos, Peyton, you're a great regular season quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone gives it to Tom Brady for everything else because of the playoff wins. Kudos to Toronto, you're a regular season team. But when it comes to the playoffs,
right,
where are you guys at?
Right.
So that's just, I don't know, yeah.
Let's stay in the NBA for a second. Now, I know the trade deadline's coming up in a few weeks. You see any big names that you could foresee making a move?
I brought this up in the beginning of the season.
Or even mediocre names, even guys that might help a squad.
You know what? I think DeAndre Jordan might leave. I think he just wants to leave in general.
Mm-hmm.
There's talks about him maybe going to Cleveland this year. But I know the whole thing is with Cleveland doesn't want to part with their pick.
Right. And he wanted to leave, what was it, last year, the year before last, when he said he was going to sign with Dallas and then a week later changed his mind and went back with the Clips.
Exactly.
Sounds like he should have stuck with his gut.
Man, I just don't see any other big, unless a blockbuster deal happens with Cleveland where they trade off some people, but I just don't see it really happening.
Right.
The beginning of the season, I said that maybe Anthony Davis or Boogie is going to leave.
Boogie's been in the trade talks like the last 2 or 3 years. That's what I was thinking.
I just think with Boogie, he just has that attitude that no one really wants to play with.
Yeah. Could be more trouble than it's worth. That's why people are just hesitant.
I think so. The only thing I can think of is maybe Minnesota making a trade to kind of help off their bench, to maybe go deep in the playoffs, maybe picking up a more veteran player.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know who, but that's the only thing I can really see is maybe the Cavs making a trade, but they have to give up that pick, and I don't think they are. So it's going to be interesting to see.
I heard the Cavs were talking about maybe picking up Lou Williams, which is just more indicative of the mess that they're in. They've got tons of people who can score the ball, but Lou and that coaching staff's just simply not getting it done, man.
Well, that's the thing. I don't, if you're talking about picking up Lou Williams,
what happened to Kevin Love?
My whole thing is well, who are you going to give up, to get those people? Because you have a full roster.
You don't dare trade that draft pick.
And the thing is, it's like, are you sure LA's going to want to give that up? Because right now they have Lou Williams, who's been scoring like in the past week, 2 weeks maybe, like almost 30 points a game.
I think you're correct. He's averaged 31 over the last 13 games.
Exactly. And to be quite honest, he's been the most healthiest. You know, Blake goes out in and out. DeAndre goes in and out. You know, Austin Rivers is,
right.
You know, he has a cast on his leg. So they're not going to give up their best thing that they have right now. So to be quite honest, I don't see any real trades.
I don't see how that makes sense, right?
Maybe there might be some people moving here and there to maybe make cap space for the end of the season. I don't see any even mediocre names. I don't see anything really, because it's not going to make. I mean, let's be honest. The Cavs are the only team that can make a sensible trade to help them get to the finals, and maybe win 2 games against the Warriors. But other than that, I don't think there's any other team that can really, And to be quite honest, if Boston picks up someone, I don't really think that's going to be great for the team, because as you talked about chemistry, to have someone come
huge.
in,
I don't see Boston needing another piece. I see Houston needing another piece to compete with Golden State. I see them needing another piece. I'm not sure who, but they would need it. As far as the East, it's Boston, Cleveland. The Wizards could use some help. I'm not sure who.
I mean, the Wizards are another one too. They're like the Toronto Raptors. They do good at points, and then they.
Yeah. It seemed like they were a little bit better last year. This year, you would expect them to be, keep it right where it was, but it seems like they've taken a small step back.
I do.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of. Yeah.
So, anyways, folks, looks like Golden State. We'll keep you posted. We'll keep you tuned in. Like I said, the All-Star game's not here yet. We got a lot more basketball left. But as of now,
there's one kid I want to talk about. Sorry, Joey.
Oh,
is Lauren Marketkin, I think his name is. I think he's from Arizona, 7-footer.
Okay.
Fast to get to 100 3-pointers made.
Who's this kid play for?
He plays for the Bulls.
Okay.
Played against the Warriors tonight. Had a great block on Steph Curry. For the past couple games, he's really turned it on. He had an injury, that's why he didn't play in the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. But watch out for Chicago. They could make some noise. They could do some stuff. I know Chris Dunn went out, mouth injury, but when he comes back, hopefully in a game or two, I think Zach LaVine is back. I think you have Valentine and this kid Marketing. They could be an interesting team, but I think that's a player.
I don't know if you've seen the record though. The Bulls are really one of the worst teams in the league. I see what you're saying. They have a lot of young talent.
I'm not talking about this year, but I'm talking about watch out for this guy. I mean, him and Porzingis went up against each other. I got to see some of it. It was a very interesting battle with those 2 7-footers. So definitely check out that guy. I think he's gonna be something interesting to see.
Right. Well, we haven't forgot about our fight fans. We're going to finish up with a great MMA fight that we have this weekend, UFC 220. We got a pair of heavyweights in here, Stipe and Ngannou. In my opinion, this is the only fight really worth talking about. Man, what a matchup. Stipe's the champion right now. He's defended his title a few times successfully. Ngannou, of course, coming off that great electrifying uppercut of Overeem just about 5 or 6 weeks back. He's right back in the ring and ready to go. I don't blame him. That fight was quick with Overeem. Actually lifted off from his feet, Steven, when he hit him with that uppercut. Was pretty impressive.
It's pretty nasty.
Look, bottom line, we got 2 of the most explosive fighters, heavyweights. When you got guys going 245, 250, chiseled, and they're wearing 4 or 5 ounce gloves, it doesn't take much. One of these guys gets touched, it could go either way. To me, that makes for an exciting fight. Mm-hmm. I want to watch it. I want to watch it live. I'll be checking it out. Don't ask me who's going to win. I can't give you a winner. I know that's terrible, right? That's what we do is talk
Joey,
sports.
Are you cheering for someone, or who do you think?
It's basically, Steven, like I just said, when you get guys 245, 250 wearing 5 ounce gloves, it only takes one shot.
I agree.
One shot.
So
I guess whoever can implement their game plan.
Joey, don't let the fans be like that. Give them somebody. Come on.
I don't know. I'm trying to build the tickets. I'm trying to build the fight. All right. We need to go watch it. I don't know who can win. I really don't, folks. I don't know who I give the edge to. I just know that it's going to be an exciting fight, and I'm not going to miss it. I know we'll be here at Sniper Sports talking about it, recapping the fight. That's for sure. That you can bet on.
Unlike my friend Joey here, I'm going to make a prediction.
There we go, Steven. Give us a winner.
I think you're right. It's an evening match fight. I think Stipe is a very well-conditioned fighter, and I think that's what's really helped him along in his career, being able to take blows, but still being able to last throughout the fight. And he doesn't kind of like blow his load in the first round or two.
Right.
He's able to really understand his opponent and take his shots. And I think he's more of a strategic fighter. He's not going to come out there and try to like exchange with you, but at the same time, I think Ngannou is just an explosive, well-conditioned fighter, which I think he's never really seen before.
Yes.
And I think he's not going to burn himself out. I think he's going to pace himself, but yet I think he has enough stamina, enough power and speed that he's just going to take it to him, and I think that's what's going to make the biggest difference. Is I've seen Stipe fight against Mark Hunt and some of these other fighters. He just kind of let him warm out, and then that's when he would attack. With Ngannou, he's just a machine. He is a beast, and I think Stipe is going to have his hands full. And I'll say by the third round, I think.
By the third round?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say somebody's dropped by the second round. I think Stipe, I give him the edge as far as like the experience, and he's been battle tested. He has he's a little bit more of a well-rounded fighter, I'd say, at this point in his career. But gosh, bar none, Ngannou, his explosiveness. I mean, with that speed and strength and just the build and the quick muscle twitch and the kind of power he can generate with either hand. I mean, Alistair Overeem, he lifted him off the ground. It's a big dude. It's a 250-pound guy. A veteran's had over 45 UFC fights. I mean, like nothing. And I'm sorry, I just got to see that. I don't know who wins this fight. I really don't. I just don't. I got to watch it. I got to see it. We'll recap it here. And that's all I can say. Don't miss it, fight fans.
We won't miss it. We won't miss it.
All right. Well, that's it for this show. Thanks for joining us once again. Much more to come in 2018.
Exactly.
Go see the fight. Go out this weekend and watch the games. NFC, AFC Championship, road to the Super Bowl, and basketball is heating up. So.
Exactly. So until next time, check out our YouTube channel, like, subscribe. We'll definitely be posting every week on the YouTube and different social media outlets as well. So we'll keep you updated.
Yeah, send us your emails. We'd love to hear some questions. We'll go over them on the show.
So until next time, see you guys later.
All right.